Okay, so this this topic, it's sorry, let me keep it on my screen. This topic is it's skill 5. It's called API storage, like API local storage. Here, I'll show you real quick on the outline what it's supposed to be. So if we look here at skill 5, it's called local storage API. So what we have to do is we have to store and retrieve simple data, and then we have to store and retrieve arrays, associative arrays, and objects. And I'll show you guys how I did that. So basically what this does is if you input something into the browser, it saves it on your computer. So if you go back to that web page, the settings that you had were saved. So I'll show you with an example I made. Let me see, sorry. I can find where I left it. I have so many windows open. I think it's over here. Yeah, it's over here. So basically to show this, you can change the background from green to red. And so if I change it to red and then I X this out and I open the page again, it will remember that I had it on red. So basically that's all it does, is it remembers things that you tell it to remember. So what you do is you say, here I'll show you. So you say window, and then you put a bracket, and then you put local storage in that, and then you tell it to set the item that you want it to remember. So in this case, I'm telling it to remember an item named color, and I'm telling it to remember the variable color that I pass in here. So when I use set color in my button down here, for example, for my button that change it from green, I pass green into the color. So what happens is it sets this item to green, and then it remembers that it's green. And then this function right here, get color, what that does is it sets my background to green. It retrieves the color that I saved, and it uses that color to set my background. So basically, if we want to save data, we use set item, and if we want to retrieve data, we use get item. Does that make sense so far, or is this too crazy?
No, it makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense, but sometimes I get confused. You are talking about what you've just created, and it based on color,
Mm-hmm.
which is green and red.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of program there. What are the other things doing?
Oh, we'll get to
Just
that. So
okay, okay,
right now we're just looking at simple data. So the only thing I'm telling it to remember right now is either the string green or the string red. And then it retrieves
okay.
that and it changes the background to that string. So let's look at how we save objects. So do you guys know how
Okay.
objects work? Do you remember? Do you guys remember how objects work?
I guess the object is inside of a method.
Yeah. So this is an object I created. And basically all this object is, it's a car. And the car has a make, a model, a year. And I get these so I get these variables from the input of the user. So let's go ahead and see. So down here, what kind of car do you drive? So I can say I drive a VW. Let's say I drive, which is Volkswagen, Jetta, and let's say the year is 2010. So when I hit save my car, what it's going to do is going to take all of these variables that I created, and it's going to create an object called car out of them. Okay? And then whenever you use this method, this set item, you have to use a string. So right here, I have an object. So what I have to do is I have to take this object and create a string out of it with stringify.
Yeah, JSON.
Yeah, I use JSON.stringify. So now this object is converted to a string. And now that it's a string, I can save it. So what I did was I told the window to save it in a variable called myCar, and I told it to pass my car into it. So now what this part does is it tells you that the car was saved. So hold on, I'll show you. So I input this stuff, and then I tell it to save my car, and it tells me that my car was saved successfully. So now if I want to retrieve the data, I'm going to use this function, show my car. So basically this if statement just checks to see if there is a car object, and if there's not, it tells you that you have to create one. And so what I do is I retrieve the car using get item. And then remember, when I retrieve the car, it's going to be a string still. So I have to parse it using JSON, and then it creates the object. And then, so what this does is this tells me my make, model, and year of the object that I stored. So if I click show my car, it tells me what I typed in here. So if I change this, in fact, if I X this out and I open this same file again, it's going to remember my car because I told it to. It remembers what color I set this to, and it remembers what car I had. So if I open this, let's see, if I open this in an incognito window here, can I do that from here? Let's see. I don't think I can. So I'll do it from here. So if I go new incognito window and I open the file, it's going to tell me I haven't set a color because in incognito it doesn't remember any local storage. So
Okay, yeah.
I don't have a color, but if as soon as I click one, it'll remember that. So if I open this in a new window, it'll remember that color. Then I change it to green, it remembers that it's green here. And if I try to show my car, it tells me I haven't created a car yet. So that's it. And let's see, real quick. So storing arrays is really simple. You just create an array, and then you use that set item that we talked about before, and then you use get item and you call it array. You don't have to convert it to a string or anything. It just automatically does it. And then associative arrays are a little bit harder because you have to create the array, and then just like objects, you have to stringify it when you set it.
Another question, if it's an integer, same thing, I have to stringify it too?
I don't think so. That's a good question. For the array, you don't have to stringify the integers. So let's try that real quick. So instead of making this an array, let's just call it a number, just like one integer. Let's say 6. Okay, I'll save it. And then let's see if it prints out 6 on the bottom. I don't think it let's see. Yeah, it printed out 6. So with integers, no, you don't have to stringify them.
Oh, good.
I know this is kind of complicated at first. I had to play with it a lot to understand it, but after you play with it, it makes sense.
Okay.
And this function here, all this does is it checks to see if your browser can handle local storage. That's all it does. I think that's it, yeah. It's pretty simple. I'll go ahead and I'll upload this to GitHub in a bit, and then I'll send you guys the link, yeah.
So what do you create a repository for each like lesson?
What's that?
Do you create a repository for each lesson?
No, you just create one repository. Here, I'll show you what I did.
Okay.
How my repository looks. So this is my repository. I just call it CIT 261. And then I have each skill within a folder. So this is skill 5, so I just put it in this folder.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, I like to see your Git, to see your online GitHub. You have GitHub installed on the computer?
Yeah, but it doesn't work for some reason on my computer. There's a problem with it. So I
Okay.
use
Let's go
NetBeans.
online.
So, whoops, wrong NetBeans. But I use NetBeans to sync my GitHub because my GitHub desktop doesn't work.
I've used NetBeans in the past. Maybe I should go back to NetBeans. But they
Yeah.
do have a GitHub online.
It's actually really easy if your GitHub desktop works. It's really easy, but mine doesn't work for some reason. It used to work, but it just stopped working. And if I uninstall it and install it again, it still doesn't work.
No, I had the desktop, but I deleted it.
Yeah, you can use NetBeans also.
Yeah, I have used NetBeans in the past. Maybe I should go back to NetBeans.
So, hold on, I'm going to stop the.
Also, you there?
I'm going to stop the